Hey, Rhino guys. We are kind of changing a little some of the stuff that we're doing up a little bit. We're going to bring you some new information, and today we have a couple guys here. One, Bobby Smith, who has been with us for the last few years, handles a lot of speed training, agility, outfield hitting for us. He played at North Central College, had a really good college career, and obviously the way his arms are right now, you can obviously tell he does a lot of lifting. And then we got Cam Galgano also. He owns GPS, which is Galgano Performance Systems, and he is a Providence high school grad, and he played baseball over at Illinois Wesleyan. And both guys just fantastic dudes. Just love working out for them. Just down to earth dudes, and we're going to talk a little bit about nutrition today, and just about the habits that you guys have, the truths behind things, and really just how to just get a little bigger as a baseball player, because I think it's a huge game changer once you actually start taking that side of things seriously. And we talk with our players all the time that baseball is more than just in a cage or on a mound. Baseball entails a lot of things, and that includes eating right, lifting right, and all those different aspects of the game. So, Greg, do you want to kind of start off with the questions, and then maybe start asking these guys a few things?
Sure. Yeah, I got. I'm sure we've all a ton of questions, guys. First of all, Bobby, Cam, thanks for being on here. I think I've heard so many trainers say that you can't out train a bad diet. And I think for so many young kids and even high school kids, I don't think they really have a grasp of what that means. Hopefully they're more and more informed as we go along here with them. But I think just just hearing from you guys, because you guys work with tons of athletes, and Bobby, you're still a competitive athlete. You're training for something. To hear it from both sides, I think is really a good thing. So I think over the years, the one thing that I guess first question for both of you guys, and I think you both agree on this. Players say they're eating healthy. Families think they're eating healthy. They think they're eating enough, or they don't think they're eating too much, or whatever the case is. But really, unless if you track everything that goes into your body, you really have no idea. And I know Andrew's made the suggestion a lot of times, and both you guys have as well, to use MyFitnessPal. Can you guys kind of explain what that app is and how you guys each use it? Let's start with Bobby on yourself eating, what you're doing, and give these guys just a little bit of a background what you're training for.
Men's physique. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So right now I'm training to do a men's physique competition. So it's basically a bodybuilding competition. It's not as much muscle as you guys are thinking. It's more of like a body sculpting type of thing. So before I started doing all this 2 years ago, probably around 2 years ago, I would still eat healthy, but I wasn't really tracking how much of everything I was eating. When my body started to change was when I actually started tracking that and calculating how many carbs I take in a day, how much protein I take in a day, and how much fat I take in every single day. That's when I really noticed a difference in not only my workouts, but like the way my body looked. And I deal with a lot of you guys who tell me that you can't put on weight. And it's not that you can't, it's that you're not trying hard enough and you're not calculating it correctly. Because don't waste your workouts. You can't out train a bad diet. If you're working out, don't waste it. Calculate it and make sure you're doing it correctly.
Sorry, Bobby. I had it muted. I've got a really fat boxer dog behind me who snores. I'd like to have him hear this nutritional meeting too. Bobby, can you really quickly walk through your meal prep? What does that look like for you?
So I just started a different prep right now. I was doing macronutrient calculations. So as long as I fit my carbs, my protein, and fat in every day, I could eat whatever I want. But I try to eat it more healthy. So rice, chicken, potatoes, ground beef, lean ground beef, fish. Now I'm on a meal plan. I don't want to go through the whole thing because it's just a lot of explaining. But it's really healthy. Chicken and rice first meal, chicken and rice second meal, third meal's ground beef and bell peppers, fourth meal steak and salmon and asparagus, and then my last meal I have a protein shake before bed.
Okay.
So
and you plan those out, if I remember right, Bobby, you plan those out. You'll spend a portion of like 1 day per week to actually weigh everything out, know what you're actually getting, and then have food ready for you for a number of days.
I usually do it once or twice a week. I normally prep my salmon every like 4 days. That's the servings that it comes in when I buy it from the store. Um, but yeah, it's normally once a week, or I'll throw in another day in there when I'm prepping the salmon or some of the ground beef.
So I think
But it only
the main thing here, right, is that you actually are focusing in on it. It's not just eat whatever, whenever. There's a goal in mind. You know what you're putting in your body, and you know what's coming out of your body. Is that kind of the idea behind it all?
Yep.
Awesome.
Cam, how about when you work with, when you work with individual athletes that are really trying to kind of get somewhere that they've never gone before, and maybe they can't figure out why. I know that one of the first things you talk about is the same thing that Bobby's talking about. You got to change your diet. So, what are some of the conversations you have with guys, and how do you help them get there?
Yeah, and I completely agree with what Bobby said too. Is actually kind of realizing what you're currently putting into your body. So what I always tell athletes to do, especially ones who have a hard time gaining weight, I tell them like, all right, here's the deal. I want you to write down, whether it be using MyFitnessPal, whether it be just the notes section of your phone, what does a typical day of eating look like for you right now? Maybe take a weekday or 2 weekdays, one weekend, and write down everything. I don't care, good, bad, ugly, whatever. Don't cheat yourself on this, okay? And then from there, we can have a little bit of a talk, kind of, show them what what a good day or like what a proper day of, eating will look like. Obviously, something kind of like Bobby's. And then we can kind of compare and contrast what we currently see. And I think that's a really good way to kind of get these kids, kind of like what we were talking about, was like aware of what they're currently putting in their body. And then from there, it's like you can have that conversation of like, okay, try to like train, like what's your goal? Then we come up with a plan. And then from there, it's just all about being consistent. And then I think too, a big thing, especially with kids, if they don't have for some reason access to, a food scale where they can take exact measurements, it's like even using like, people always say you can always, your hands portable. It's like, you can write down, even if you're using just the notes section of your phone, like, whatever you could use, your fist for the amount of protein. I had like 2-3 whatever fistfuls of grilled chicken, something to where you can like stay consistent, something where you can track it, even if you don't have access to a food scale or stuff like that too. Just like Bobby was saying, and being consistent and, kind of like train, you don't want to just, do, eat the right things every day for a week. And then all of a sudden you get off course, and then it's a slippery slope from there. So I think consistency is the key.
So you mentioned MyFitnessPal. I don't personally use it. I don't think Greg personally uses it. We both kind of have let ourselves go, and we're okay with that. That's no problem whatsoever. But we have suggested using it for some players. Bobby has mentioned it numerous times. It's something that's a great tool. Cam, you've mentioned it as well. I personally would love all of our players to get it. Youth, not necessarily the 8s, 9s, 10s, but I think when you start looking at 13 years old and up, I think it'd be a great tool for guys to download on their phone, and a great moment right now that they're all sitting at home, not having to go to school, not doing a lot of things, to actually sit down and start getting a routine. Can both of you guys kind of explain maybe what it is, how to use it, and why it's so important to be able to have something that you physically can use and see on how much you're putting into your body, how much is coming out of your body, and how that actually relates to you gaining size?
All right. So it's the easiest way to calculate what you're eating. You literally, kids, you scan a barcode, it puts it all in your phone, you say how much you're eating, and it adds it all up for you in one of the columns. It's the simplest way to do it. It's not hard. You can't be lazy when you're doing it. When I work with kids, some kids do it and they love it and they get a lot out of it, but other kids will be like, oh, I forgot. And it comes down to, at the end of the day, how bad do you want it? Do you want to make these gains? Do you want to get better in the weight room? Do you want that to transition onto the baseball field? Or do you not want it? And you got to make that decision at home too. It doesn't just stop when you're done at the weight room. There's still a lot of stuff that you have to do outside of the weight room to get better in the sport, and that is in the kitchen.